He gave an interview to Playboy magazine during the excitement surrounding the 1967 movie, saying that in reality it had not been glamorous. He was killed on August 4th, 1974, in a misunderstanding by the jealous boyfriend of a woman whom he was trying to help. Melvin was convicted in Oklahoma of the 1934 murder of Constable Campbell at Commerce. He was paroled in 1942 and killed by a train in 1948. He fell asleep drunk on the train tracks, although some have speculated that he was pushed by someone seeking revenge. His father Ivy was killed in 1946 by a hit-and-run driver. Parker's husband Roy Thornton was sentenced to 5 years in prison for burglary in March 1933. He was killed by guards on October 3, 1937, during an escaped attempt by Easton Prison. Hamber returned to a quiet life as a freelance security consultant for oil companies. According to Gwynn, his reputation suffered somewhat after Gippsland because many people felt that he had not given Barrow and Parker a fair chance to surrender. He died in 1955 at the age of 71 after several years of poor health. Bob Alcorn died on May 23, 1964, 30 years to the day after the Gippsland ambush. Prentice Oakley admitted to friends that he had fired prematurely. He succeeded Henderson Jordan as sheriff of Bineville Parish in 1940. Officials of the Texas Rangers, Texas Highway Patrol, and Texas Department of Public Safety honored the memory of Patrolman Edward Brian Willier on April 1, 2011, who was murdered along with Officer H.D. Murphy by the Barrow Gang on Easter Sunday, April 1, 1934. They presented the Yellow Rose of Texas commendation to his last surviving sibling, 95-year-old Ella Wheeler McLeod of San Antonio, giving her a plaque and framed portrait of her brother. My aim in making this video was to highlight Bonnie Parker outside the infamy of Bonnie and Clyde, to tell her story. I could not. Somehow I feel like I failed at my task. That as I continued telling the story of Bonnie, it grew more and more of the ill-fated lovers. And yet, strangely, maybe that is the point. Perhaps that's how Bonnie wanted it. She was bound to him when she met Clyde, called it fate or insanity. From that day on, she was no longer Bonnie Elizabeth Parker, but Bonnie Suicide Sal, the Bonnie to his Clyde. Sometimes the story forces you to tell the story outside of your own desire. And Bonnie and Clyde's doomed pairing is stronger than my desire to keep them apart, to keep them separated as they are currently in death. To be reunited, if for a moment, to share a story, often more disturbing than poetic. Bonnie and Clyde killed 11 people, including 9 law enforcement officers during their 2 years of criminal activity from February 1932 to May 1934. Here are the names of the victims. John Napoleon J. N. Butcher of Hillsborough, Texas, murdered April 30, 1932 in Hillsborough, Texas. Deputy Eugene Campbell Moore of Atoka, Oklahoma, murdered August 5, 1932 in Stringtown, Oklahoma. Howard Hall of Sherman, Texas, murdered October 11, 1932 in Sherman, Texas. Doyle Ailey Myers Johnson of Temple, Texas, murdered December 26, 1932 in Temple, Texas. Deputy Malcolm Simmons Davis of Dallas, Texas, murdered January 6, 1933 in Dallas, Texas. Detective Harry Leonard McGinnis of Joplin, Missouri, murdered April 13, 1933 in Joplin, Missouri. Constable John Wesley West Harriman of Joplin, Missouri, murdered April 13, 1933 in Joplin, Missouri. Town Marshal Henry Dallas Humphrey of Alma, Arkansas, murdered June 26, 1933 in Alma, Arkansas. Prison Guard Major Joseph Crowson of Huntsville, Texas, murdered January 16, 1934 in Houston County, Texas. Patrolman Edward Brian Ed Wheeler of Grapevine, Texas, murdered April 1st, 1934, near Grapevine, Texas. Patrolman Holloway Daniel H.D. Murphy of Grapevine, Texas, murdered April 1st, 1934, near Grapevine, Texas. Constable William Calvin Cal Campbell of Commerce, Oklahoma, murdered April 6, 1934, near Commerce, Oklahoma.